Thousands of candidates vying for at least 18,000 posts across the country, and there are at least 5 major candidates for the presidency.
Gen Z as responsible voters. Members of Gen Z are more racially and ethnically diverse than any previous generation, and they are on track to be the most well-educated generation yet. In America, Pew Research Center surveys conducted in the fall of 2018 see that Generation Z is generally alike to millennials on political and social issues. Generation Z has been reported to be progressive and pro-government. The generation is largely in favor of LGBT rights, gender equality, and access to abortion. In the Philippines, citing actual numbers, millennial ages 26 to 41 made up to 23.9 million of voting population, while Gen Z ages 18 to 25 born after 1996. Most members of this generation are not yet old enough to vote, but the qualified voters are already totaled to 13 million voters. Combined, they account for over 56% of registered voters. And now, here are 10 tips on how to vote smarter. The first step to voting smarter is to register. There is no such thing as not voting, said writer David Foster Wallace. He wrote, "You either vote by voting or you vote by staying home and tacitly doubling the value of someone's diehard votes." 2. Realize that your one vote does count. When you embrace the idea that your vote counts, you will see it as the responsibility it is and prepare for it like you should. 3. Do your homework. Talk to your friends and family members about your candidates and listen to what they have to say too. Intelligent discussion is important. 4th, separate fact from fiction. This is crucial in a time of fake news and propaganda, when it's so easy to fool even supposedly smart people into believing something skewed or completely made up. Choose your sources of information wisely. Look for voices you can trust. Don't believe everything you read and hear. Verify, verify, verify. 5th, vote critically. You know how critical you are when you're watching the question and answer portion of beauty pageants? Or when a book you like was adapted into a movie? Or when your food delivery guy screw up your order? You should even be more critical to people you're voting for. Don't vote for a name just because it's familiar. Don't vote for someone just because they're popular. Don't vote for someone just because you also voted for their parents. Electoral seats are not a birthright. Government positions aren't crowns to be passed on. They are not Queen Elizabeth or Prince Charles. And please, for the love of God and all the heroes who fought for our democracy, don't vote for someone just because they entertained you with a song and dance. 6. Know the difference between promises and performance. It's so easy to make all kinds of promises during campaign period. It's like courtship. Politicians will promise you the moon and stars to get your vote. What you need to be looking at is their track record. What have they actually done? Pay attention to actions, not words. 7. Ask yourself, what did they do during the pandemic? COVID was a true test of leadership. How each candidate handled the pandemic tells us so much about them. Did they have their priorities straight? Were they plastering their names and donations paid by taxpayers? Were they jumping the line to get tested? Were they being completely stupid and reckless and violating quarantine rules, putting other people at risk? 8. Utang na loob should never be the basis of your vote. Remember that when your politicians does something good for your community or even your family, what they spent isn't coming out of their own pockets, which is why there's no excuse for all those tarps with their names and faces. 9th, you can be as forgiving as you want to be in all aspects of your life, but not when it comes to choosing your government officials. Filipino can be too forgiving and too grateful, and so politicians think they can keep making fool of us. If an elected official has already screwed the country over and revealed their true horrific colors, say never again and votes for someone else. And lastly, prepare your cheat sheet of chosen candidates and bring it with you on the day of the elections so that you don't panic when the ballots is in front of you. When choosing candidates, Mendoza said, "Don't just think of yourself, think of the future generation, the children. If we make the wrong decisions, it's the children who will be paying for those mistakes. It's so easy to say our leaders need to change, but the first thing that should change is how we choose the leaders we are voting for."